Welcome to Three Takes. I'm Ishana.
I'm Minali.
I'm Mona.
Three women.
Three generations.
One family, unpacking the questions we all ask. Welcome back to Three Takes. We are so excited about this episode because we really want to pay tribute to all the hardworking moms out there. We want to wish everyone happy Mother's Day. I'm joined today by my friend Aaratthi, who I knew from college. Aaratthi is a proud UNC graduate in Tar Heel. She spent 8 years working full-time as a consultant before she made the transition as a stay-at-home mom. She has 2 adorable 4-year-old twin girls and a 2-year-old son. And I think today we really want to tackle the question of what it means to pause your career and become a stay-at-home mom. So Aaratthi, I really want to hear from you what led to that decision of making the transition from working full-time to working as a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah, quite honestly, I wish it was a decision. When I had the girls, I had maternity leave, and then I went back to work. And thankfully, I was in a remote situation, so I just was remote working, and I remember still hating it. Like, I was struggling so hard working. And the downfall, too, was we had a nanny, and then she quit on us after 2 weeks. At that point, too, my husband and I were so, untrusting of anyone with the kids at that point that I was working full time and taking care of the twins at the same time. 10 out of 10 did not recommend. So that was my biggest flaw. And then I ended up getting laid off. The day I found out I was pregnant with my son at the hospital, we confirmed the pregnancy, and I was coming home to a call that I was getting laid off. And
God. And did you see that coming, or was that just
No, did not see it coming.
Yeah.
We were, obviously there was a lot of reorg and stuff happening in our company, but I thought I would be safe because nobody was really doing my job, and this can go down a whole other rabbit hole. But before I went on maternity leave, I created training documents. So whoever was taking my stuff would be well prepared because I was doing a lot. And then I came back into work, and I noticed that a lot of my job didn't come back to my role. And then next thing you know, 3 months later, I'm getting laid off. And it was obviously me taking maternity leave felt like ways to, cut corners and figure out something else, for other people. But I think the hardest part was the choice to be stay at home was never a choice. I didn't choose to leave my job. My job was taken out from under me, right? Because my therapist asked me, she was like, when did you decide to not work? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, exactly, you didn't make the decision. The decision was made for you. And then you had to learn to cope with that. And so now, it's been almost 3.5 years of not working. And I think there was this weird mental game of, okay, I need to find a job. But then also I was pregnant with my son. And so then I knew that who was going to hire a pregnant woman who's going to be due 6 months later, And so then I was applying, wasn't really hearing back, or I'd get all these final interviews and then nothing, and then I had my son. So I took some breaks, and then I went back into interviewing. But honestly, as time went on, I noticed my motivation to apply became less and less because I was actually enjoying being a mom at home. That shift started happening. And I think that was probably one of the most shocking things for me because I didn't expect to actually enjoy being at home with them. When I was waiting for the shoe to drop, I was waiting for the I need to go back to work.
Yeah.
And even though I kept trying to apply for jobs and work, nothing was panning out. And then slowly I was oh, I actually enjoy being home with my kids. So
something that you said was just the choice, that word itself, because I think a lot of the times, a lot of us and in the community that we're in, and also just being from Charlotte, being high achieving women, it's when things don't work out, it often feels like we are the reason that we failed or that I got pregnant. This is a me situation. And then
absolutely,
I'm fired because I am bad at my job and I am now having to do all of these things. And I think I would imagine if I was in that position, I would all of a sudden just be I'm a complete failure. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do in this moment. And I don't want to speak for you, but what were some of those mental battles that pushed you to just keep moving forward while you were also struggling with so much change happening in your life?
Yeah, that's a really big and loaded question, and I don't even know if I can answer it, quite honestly, because when I even think back to the day that I got laid off, and then I had severance for a while because I'd been with a company for some time. In my head was like, okay, like I think my severance was going to run out by like April of the next year. So I was like, oh, surely I can find a job by April. And then like April was like creepily approaching, and I was like, I don't have a job. Like, what are we doing? And so, because weirdly enough, when I got laid off, I was like, oh, this is a blessing in disguise, because I was feeling burnt out working and taking care of the twins. Like I couldn't, and I was pregnant. So like, I was like, oh, this is a good thing. Like I will have time to find another job. It's going to be fine. I will figure it out. And then April was rolling around and my severance was running up. And I was like, oh crap, like I need to find a job. And then I had my son, you know, the whole 9 yards, right? But there were so many, especially when I would get interviews and then get ghosted or not hear back. I was like, that rejection while taking care of kids is such a like mental game, because it's like at one point you're feeling so sad and defeated, and then in your like career life, and then you're a mom, you're like, okay, I gotta figure out the twins feedings, and oh, they have to start solids now, and oh, they're crawling, so I have to like make sure the house is baby proof. You know, it's like your brain is working in two different aspects. And that's where I started need to go into therapy, because it was like, I wasn't even in therapy at that point, but I started therapy last year. So it was like a few months after my son was born. But I look back and I was like, wow, I need a lot more help. And I didn't have that help too, to like navigate mentally all those things. And so after I had my son, like PPD hit me hard, like months after, because I think it just like blew up in my face because I wasn't caring for those things anymore. And so yeah, the whole like failure aspect, like I felt that all the time. And there are times I still feel it now, quite honestly.
This is kind of a good segue, because in a previous episode, we talked to a psychiatrist who basically
I listened to that
like
one.
Talks about this feeling of guilt that women experience like all the time. And it's like, it doesn't matter what you do, where you're doing it. Like there's just such high expectations that like society puts on us, but then you know, to a certain extent, like what we also put on ourselves.
Exactly.
And it's like when you can't meet that, it goes into this spiral. And I'm definitely experiencing that now. I don't have it figured out yet at all.
Well, and I feel like you're also in a unique position, Holly, because you're in medicine, and I feel like medicine is so unforgiving for moms in general, which is just such a crazy concept. But like, I really give it to you, even in our little group text that we have, like y'all are all in medicine. And I'm like, I don't know how y'all are doing it, because like, it's because patient care and all of that, and then coming home and dealing with babies, like that's not an easy mental place to be in, especially when you're dealing with high emotional stress at work, because obviously you have to like compartmentalize like everything you're going through at work. And then you're coming at home and you're dealing with a lot of baby things. And so that's definitely not easy. So I really don't know how you do it. And then also the pressure thing. We're all South Asian women. We know the pressure that it is to be successful and high achieving in our careers, and then be a mom, but then you're supposed to have it all, and you can't, you really can't. And, or if you do have kids, then you're expected to just have the help so you can go succeed in your career or whatever. Like the expectation to then be at home feels like, oh, she's just a stay-at-home mom. Like it's no longer something to like commend, you know, for being a stay-at-home mom. It's, I don't know. That's how I took it when I became a stay-at-home mom. Also because I got comments from not my parents necessarily, but like extended family coming at me being like, do you know how you're like, you know, it's such a detriment to your career for doing this, for taking time off? And I was like, again, it goes back to, I didn't have the choice initially, right? Like if I had the choice, that's one thing, but I didn't have the choice and now I'm here. So
how has your values or maybe like identity of what working means or what success means? Because I'm kind of at this stage where like, I'm like a traveling consultant, so I travel every single week. At some point in my life, I will want to have a family, and I have been talking to a lot of mentors who are at that stage of life who are doing consulting while having a family. But in my head, it goes back to this whole thing of choice of like, I almost have to pick and choose. Like, am I going to stay at this job? Either I'm going to have to sacrifice not traveling, and that means I miss out on certain opportunities for work, or I completely give up work in itself once I'm out of that stage of like maternity leave. And so I'm curious for the both of you, like how has your definition of like goals that you have for yourself and the identity maybe shifted as you've like had a family, as you've kind of now gone into a different way of working in your life?
I would say like my whole mindset shifted once Arav and Naira came into the picture, because I was very, very career driven. And I guess in my mind, I think there was just this fundamental like flaw that I think a lot of us have, is that housework is not work. but it's such hard work. And I did not realize that until I had the babies. It's just like a full-time job in and of itself. It's like, especially with two of them, especially when they're not synced, especially when they're both having like tantrums at like different times. It's just like impossible to like do it on your own. And I don't know how you did like full-time work and like raising the girls on your own. Like, I just don't even know how that's possible. But we are doing it because we have family support, because we have like hired help. Like, we have a set of eyes on them at all times.
Right.
But like, I think in terms of how has it changed my definition of success, like, I think now my definition of success is just like being good enough. It's like good enough, you know, for me to like get through a clinic day and like be patient. I'm not going to write the most beautiful note. I'm not going to be like pitch perfect at every single thing I do. I'm just going to get through the day, however that may be. Same thing when I'm at home is like, I can't give my 100% all the time every single day, but I'll give what I can, you know, whether that's like reading a bedtime story or whether that's just like playing with them, even if it's like 30 minutes of undisturbed time. Like, I think now I've just shifted to this idea of you do what you can, it's good enough.
Yeah, that's so real. I will say, like, anytime I listen to your mom on this podcast, she reminded me so much of my mom. But there's so much of my mom that I looked up to growing up, where like my mom did start off part-time after she had me, but I mean, I didn't know that at the time. But like, as I was growing up and seeing my mom like handle it all, I was like, I felt like that was success. Like, my mom was so career driven, and she's still career driven, and she still did the mom thing. And I felt like she killed it. Right. And so that when that's your level of like, I need to be there, like, and then I'm here, like, it feels like I'm not even matching to what my mom is. So like, I just kind of used my mom as a guide for so long. But then there was a moment where I was laying in bed and the kids, I mean, like 2 out of the 3 were sick, and I was in bed and like, they were just like jumping up and down and like just giggling and laughing. And like, I was pretending to be a monster. It was just like a really fun moment. And it hit me in that, like, for some reason, my brain decided just like pause in that moment and just be like, you could never have this. Like, if I was working full time, if I was at work, this is a moment I would be missing. And I thought what I'm doing right now is successful. Like, I'm giving them this childhood that like they're not going to remember, sure, every moment, but like it's every moment that then builds on to like that trust and foundation as a parent, right? Like, oh, my mom and dad like built a foundation for me to rely on, to feel trusted and safe and all those things. I remember telling my mom, I was like, yeah, I feel like if I was working, I would be missing all of this. And my mom's like, you would be missing it. You would have those moments at nighttime or over the weekends. And I'm like, in my head, I was like, yeah, but weekends start changing when kids are like in extracurricular activities and like you're in social activities. So like you're still missing some of that, like the small day-to-day stuff that kids are doing that you feel like you're going to miss out on. And I think that's what made it hard for me to even have a nanny in the house while I was working remote, because I felt like I was missing something that they were doing. And they were newborn. Like, they're not doing anything. Like, they're just feeding. And I felt like, and I felt like I was like suddenly missing something in their life. But I think I'm trying to figure out that whole success point, because there's still a big, deep part of me that doesn't feel successful because I'm not working, right? Like, there's still that like shift I'm trying to figure out. But then there are like the good days that happen that I'm like, oh, this is successful. Like, being a mom and doing all these things and for the kids, and, you know, making sure they're in the activities they need to be in, or the schools that they need to be in, or giving them a social like life outside of me is successful.
In my head, it's like both of you, like, that I know, like, you are transitioning back into work, and Aaratthi, like, you are not like currently employed, but it's like you guys are still like working. Like, to then to your point, it's like housework, taking care of your family is still work. And I'm curious, Aaratthi, like, how, if you have, like, are you still also finding time for yourself or your friendships that you have with other people or other relationships, like, you know, even like with your partner as well? Because I can also imagine a world where you could just keep going and not stop. And that can happen when it comes to raising family, or like even in your like a professional career. So like, are there things that you have like done for yourself, like, you know, therapy being one of them, that is like your time to also just do what you want to do?
Yeah, because it's not a 9 to 5 job.
Like, it is.
No, it's not like the clock runs out. It's like,
Like
See
there's
you
a lot of
later.
mornings I wake up, I'm like, I really don't want to parent today. Like I just want to do nothing.
Right.
I feel like I'm still figuring it out because I mean, I really firmly believed I would be the type of mom before I had kids that I would be like, I would leave my kids with the grandparents and not care. And
Yeah.
like, you know, I would take all this time for myself and make sure that I have me time and make sure I'm traveling and still like, and then I had the kids and I can't let them go. I need to be in arm's reach with them at all times. And, you know, they spend the day at my in-laws every Friday for the most part. And that Friday is a little bit of a me day because, you know, I might go get lunch. I might see a friend. I might take a nap. I might clean up the house that wouldn't have gotten done if the kids were around. You know, it's like Friday's that like one free day I have away from the kids that I do consider a me day. But sometimes it doesn't always feel like a me day because it feels like a task list of like, okay, I have to get through this before I have to get the kids because then it's not going to get done. So it almost doesn't feel relaxing by any means.
Right.
But the things that I have really loved and relied on are girls' nights. There's a couple, like a few mom groups that, or I say few mom groups. There's like 2 different mom groups that I'm in that will do like an occasional, like once a quarter, just like a girl dinner at someone's house and just yap. Like it's not even, we're not even doing anything. We're literally just in a house, just like either having dinner, maybe a couple, you know, drinks or whatever, and that's it. And those like moments do fill my cup up a bit because you know, we're all kind of in the same motherhood boat. And Ishana, this is not like a dig at you by any means, but it is really hard to be friends with people who don't have kids.
Totally.
Because you're entering this phase where it's like you're going through all these challenges as a mom, and then there's lots of other moms that are like relating to you. And so when people don't understand the scope of children and what that entails, and it's hard to then like navigate conversations with people who don't have kids because they're like not understanding the full scope. Like I'll give you an example. Like there was one time I was at like a gathering with a bunch of friends, and my son and somebody else's kids, they were all like playing together. And, you know, as moms, we're constantly like, okay, don't do that. But then we're still continuing conversation. And it's like, stop that. And then you're still like, you keep going. But like our brains are still working in like 2 different facets. 1, continuing conversation, but 2, you're still a mom. So like those conversations are still going to happen. But to me, it still feels like I'm catching up with a friend. But to the friends that don't have kids, they're just like, this feels really interrupted. And this, you know, and it's like, I don't know how else to tell you other than to say, this is my norm. Like, this is my normal. So this is all I can give you in the moment if you feel like kids are distracting in this conversation, you know? And so that's what's hard.
Yeah. Can you also like just paint the picture of what your day-to-day looks like? Because I feel like some people have this misconception that being a stay-at-home mom is like you can go out for Pilates, you can drink your mimosas with the girls, have brunch. Like what does your like day-to-day actually look like?
Girl, I wish. I mean, maybe, and I will say maybe because my kids aren't in school yet.
Yeah.
I don't know what that would look like, right? Like, I don't know if, like, when they're in school and maybe that would free up some time for me to go to the gym and do fun things for myself. And I just like, I'm not there yet. I feel like this is such a loaded question, but it's really not. It's a super simple question. And it's like, I wake up and I will make breakfast and lunch for my husband before he goes to work, because it's like you're trying to find like key times to also have time with your partner.
Right.
And sometimes that like early morning time of making sure he has breakfast and lunch. Like, I know he can pack his own breakfast and lunch, but like that was something I was doing before kids. And that was something that I wanted to maintain after kids, because it's really easy for your relationship to change after having children. So I didn't want that part of our relationship to change, because it's something I love to do in general. I know a lot of people will give me flack for that, but I do that in the morning, and he goes to work super early. Like he'll leave by like 5:30.
Oh, wait. So what time do you wake up?
Girl. I'm like, what? I'm like up at like 5:15 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then make sure that I'll like make his breakfast and then pack his lunch, and then he'll go to work. Sometimes if I am feeling motivated enough, I'll do like some kind of small workout, like a yoga workout or some kind of HIIT workout, because that's the only time that I have to do something. If I'm not already exhausted, if I didn't get woken up like a million times throughout the night because somebody, you know, was sick or whatever. So I might work out or whatever, and then either like plan what I need to do for the day, or sometimes I just might go back and take a little nap before the kids wake up, because once they're up, it's getting everyone, you know, changing everyone, making sure everyone went to the potty and brushing their teeth. But the thing is, it's easy as an outsider to think like, oh, that's super simple. But every child has their own need of me. And it like splitting myself 3 ways. Like, yes, ideally twins can be viewed as like one entity, but they are at the end of the day 2 separate children who need very different needs. And that can feel exhausting, especially if they're all sick. That's a whole other ballgame when they're all sick. It truly feels like I'm running a marathon at that point.
Truly not a 9 to 5. This is like a longer working day than like your average person. Truly.
Right. Exactly. And so I'll get them ready, then I'll make them breakfast, and then, make sure they've eaten. And then it's like, okay, let's figure out like activities, like something that's hands-on. Sometimes that might even mean me just going to the grocery store and taking them to the grocery store, and we'll, utilize that time to, one, it's a little bit more of an escape for me more than anything to just get out of the house, because one, if I don't, then it just won't get done. But two, it gives them exposure to be out, knowing how to like behave in public, because if I don't take them out often, then it's going to be that much harder for them to know like how to react in public. A lot of times I give them a pep talk like, hey, you need to stay close to mama. Like, you cannot veer off away from me. And, and that's another added stress, right? In a grocery store, you want to make sure, especially when I'm solo with 3 kids, I feel like safety at this point, you hear so many crazy things in the news. And so my girls go to speech therapy. So that sometimes like I'll have to account for that appointment, or the girls go to like a 2 days a week preschool situation. It's like from like 9:30 to 1:30. So even that 9:30, 1:30, even though I have the girls in that, I have my son with me. So like, I'm not really getting solo time, but it is like, I still have a baby to take care of, but it does feel like I'm not taking care of a child because he's very low maintenance compared to like having 3. My girls love crafting. So we do a lot of crafts in the house to like continue like sensory things, or teaching them how to, color in the lines, or like.
I mean, like it just keeps going. I feel
think
like
there's an endless list. I mean, and not just like covering the day, right? Because I'm sure the nighttime is like a whole other regimen.
Right.
Because then I'm just making that to nap time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just making it to nap time, and then, but even nap time too. Like, I feel like the girls are hitting this age where they might not nap, but I still like, I tell them like they need to have quiet time, because it's the only time that I have in my day where I feel like I could just recharge, even just for a little bit. And so the girls will like keep each other entertained, even if they're not sleeping, at least keep each other entertained for like an hour and a half to 2 hours, because they'll like play in their crib, because they have a big mega crib set up for the twins. So it's just like it's like a little like wrestling ring for them. That will like 2-hour window like helps me just kind of take care of whatever little stuff I need to take care of, like a phone call to insurance, need to set up an appointment for something, or the administrative crap that like has to get put on hold because you can't do that while kids are running around. And then it's the nighttime, right? So it's like the dinner, the bath, the like any other activities we could possibly do before bedtime. Right. And so
when do your kids go to bed usually?
I will say our kids are pretty much like they're in bed by 9:30, which I feel like is late for a lot of parents. But the gag here is that like my kids don't have to go anywhere the next day for the most part. If it's not school, like they like sleep till like 8:30. So like it's not like they're waking up at 7 a.m. and it's an issue. So like they go to sleep by 9:30 and then they wake up by like 8:30, 9 o'clock. So it's still like a good time frame. What also helps for us is like if we're out and about, like at a friend's house, like late at night, or things are running late, like our kids aren't losing it because it's bedtime. Like for them, they're still like, they're not throwing tantrums or anything. So I think it just works for our schedule right now.
No, that makes sense. I mean,
like I was just exhausted, like hearing the list, like from 5 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. Like you're just on the go all the time.
And the other thing to that too is that, because like once the kids are down, like sometimes the girls like just want me to hang out with them in their bed, and then I'll just chat with the girls and we'll talk about our day and all that. And I remember like I know those nights, as much as they're nights, I'm just like so tired and so exhausted. Like I just want to be away from them. Like there's going to come a night where they're not going to care to be around me anymore. And so I'm trying to soak in like these kinds of days where it feels so long that like, I don't want to regret anything down the road, that like I didn't give that extra time to like lay down with them at night. But then it's like that me time, right? So like from 10 p.m. to midnight, I'm like a night owl. Like I will stay up till like 12:30, 1 o'clock every night, because like that's like my solo quiet time that no one's bugging me, no one's touching me. I can shower in peace. I can like check up on emails or do whatever I need to do. And, if I need to shop or do something for the kids or whatever, like prep for the next day, like that's my solo time. But I am a night owl for that. So like from like, if I'm going to bed late, then I'm waking up early again. It's a vicious cycle. I know I have to go to bed sooner, but it's hard.
I am like not in your guys' life stage at all. So this to me is like a huge like learning of just like there's this like constant caretaking that's essentially happening. And even when you have that break, there's also like, okay, planning for the next day, or like who's going to get up in the middle of the night? What happens if someone like pees the bed? Like there could be like all of these things happening. And I'm curious, like, why do you guys think like this role of like being a working parent or just like caregiving is so misunderstood? Because I feel like there's this external, almost like negative correlation to just like staying at home, when from what I'm hearing, it's like more work than I think anyone does in their day-to-day job.
I can affirm that.
And confirm.
Curious to hear both of your guys' thoughts.
I mean, I think it has to do, again, like with kind of the environment you grow up in, like the expectations for women. I talked about this girl boss era, like we should be able to do it all. And like to your point, Aaratthi, like we also have like role models in our lives. Like, you know, we have women, like our moms were also working women. And that generation in general, I think is just like they've sacrificed so much. And it's like some of my friends, we've had this conversation of like, we just don't think we can sacrifice as much as they have. You know, when it comes to like raising a kid, like some of my friends have made the decision like not to have kids, right? And it's like the generation above us, they're incredible, they're amazing. But I don't necessarily think that's a standard that is sustainable for everybody. I don't know. I think it's a combination of who we've seen. We've seen that it's doable. Yeah. But, you know, there's also growing pains with it too. And I also think like to contextualize this too, it's like the kids aren't going to stay in this period forever. Like once they're 5, once they're in grade school, like they're in a different phase of their life too. They're not going to rely on us all the time. So like this phase is so temporary as well.
I feel like even when I think about like my parent situation, when my mom was working, it's because she had to work. Like there was almost like she didn't really have a choice, but she had to work for financial stability. And I feel like as millennials, like I'm just broadly speaking here. I'm not saying like this is across the board the right thing to say, but I guess in my viewpoint, I feel like as millennials, like we are learning like what's important in like parenting. Like we're figuring out like, oh, like sometimes being at home a little extra longer with your kids or like spending this a little extra time just to like have that deep connection with your child is so much more important than like going to work, you know, and doing X, Y, and Z, because like life is so much bigger than work, right? And so when we finally have that like vision of that, and then these other like moms of our generation who worked their butt offs to make sure we had like a better life, and then for us to still choose to be at home. I'm not saying my mom faults, you know, my mom doesn't give me a hard time for that, but like in general, I feel like maybe that's where this like negativity is coming from, of like, it's such a, I don't know, like a success thing for women to be out there working, and so for you to choose to be at home when we pave the way for you. It's, I don't know if that's some of that like mentality, but I do think we have like such a privilege of being able to, one, I feel like we were a little bit financially smarter, right? Like when you graduate out of college, like everyone like learns to get a job and learns how to financially save. And so when you're at this point of having a kid, like I'm thankful that I have the privilege to stay at home. Like I know there are people that have to work because they have to, right? Like, or financially have to. I'm thankful that I am in this position that I'm not pressured to have to go back to work. It's more of a personal choice at this point if I did want to go back to work. And so not everyone has that like privilege to say that. So I think there's a lot of mix of that too.
And I think that actually goes both ways. I mean, like one thing we didn't talk about also is just like the cost of childcare.
Yes.
For some people, it really isn't a choice because like financially, it's like because the cost of childcare is so high, like at the end of the day, like for 3 kids, you might be paying to go to work.
Exactly.
Because of how much childcare costs.
Exactly.
So like there's also those things that I feel like play into a lot of the decision making around like some women staying home. It's like not necessarily a choice that they would choose for themselves if they were in a different financial situation.
Right. And at that point, it's like if your whole paycheck is going to go to daycare or some kind of childcare, and it's going to essentially a stranger that's going to then take care of your kids, then at that point, how do you want to utilize your time? Do you rather than stay at home, save that cost, and spend that time with your kids and watch them grow up? But then there's some women that need work to like feel fulfilled. Right. And so I think there's a lot of that too, right? So there's like no right answer to it.
I do kind of see myself in a work pause stage. Like, yes, I'm working, but now that I'm done with training, I have a little more say in terms of my flexibility. And like, I flat out told like my next employer, I am not going to be working more than 3 days a week.
Yeah.
I was like, I have 2 little ones, like we'll make it work. Yes, I still want full time. Yes, I'm going to get the full benefits. But the way I'll compensate for that is working like, you know, inpatient in the hospital for like 2 or 3 more weeks to compensate for that, like 1 extra day of work that I'm not doing clinic. Like, you know, like just finding ways to accommodate for that because I just know with the kids, I cannot be working like 5 days a week, 8 to 5. Like that's just not going to work for our family anymore.
Yeah. And I feel like even as twin moms, I feel like it's so much harder because to go from like 0 to 2, I feel like when you go from 0 to 1, you at least are like learning the flexibility a little bit better. But when you have 0 to 2, it just feels like you're just like thrown into the trenches. And I feel like no decision makes any sense, but like you're trying to protect a little bit of your sanity, but also want to see your kids grow up. And I don't know, it's hard.
Aaratthi, I have like so much respect for you, like just like learning through this conversation, like how you guys do it. And I'm curious, just like for other women who are probably like maybe do have a choice on if this is something that they want to do, like what advice would you give them?
Gosh, that's a good question. Honestly, and I feel like it's hard to answer because I feel like I'm still trying to figure that out for myself. But I know like when I'm in my 80s and I think about this time, like I'm going to be so thankful I had this time with the kids. Like I know not a shadow of doubt will be in my head where I'm like, I regretted not working. Like I know for a fact I will not think like that at the age of 80. Like, but right now I still feel like I'm feeling guilty for not working. Right. So I'm trying to like shift that focus where I know older version of me is going to be so proud of current version of me doing this. And I think for other moms who like have the choice or would want to stay at home, as much as I'm struggling with it, I know that like it's so worth it. I don't think you can get this time back, especially when they hit an age where they're in school more full time and the only times you have is a morning and after school with after extracurriculars, and then your weekends are taken up with extracurricular activities. So you're not getting that like one-on-one. There's so much like goodness and joy in every hour right now with these kids that I know I won't get back.
Do you not feel proud of yourself right now? Like what makes you still feel guilty?
You're going to make me cry is what's going to happen.
No, because I'm like, after hearing this, I'm like, I have so much like respect for you being in this position and to like be present with your
3 kids
like, and like doing it
so
all
present.
from like 5 a.m. to like literally midnight. Like I can't even think about someone being that giving towards their family. Like truly, like no offense to my sister, but I'm like, you're working.
When you see the progress in your kids, it almost feels like a reflection as a mom. It's like, oh, I did that. Like that's something I should be proud of because that's something I'm doing for them in their day-to-day. Or the hardest times, as much as it can be really hard and exhausting, is at the end of the night when all they want is me. Like, yes, those nights are really hard, but it reminds me that it's like they view me as their safe space and they view me as their like, I need my mom. And like, I get so emotional in videos where like these athletes or like people who are like doing these like crazy success stories or whatever, and the first person they want to thank is their mom because like the mom is always there from like baseline, right? And I think that's what reminds me of like everything I'm doing now will show up like time and time again.
100%.
It's just right now is the invisible work that we're doing, right? Like as a mom, and then the visibility will show. But when you see the small visibility, like in the day-to-day at this age, like that's the small win that I get. I'm like, okay, I'm doing good. Like, okay, this is my validation that I needed that nobody else can give you otherwise, right? Like there's so many times like my mom or a friend will say like, oh, you're doing such a great job, or like you're doing amazing. And sometimes there are days I don't feel that, but when your kids show you like those little wins, it's like, okay, that's the validation I need that like I'm doing okay.
No, I think you said that really well, and yeah, thank you for sharing that. That got me emotional because I'm like, I can only imagine like being there to see like every win for your child is definitely something that you can't have if you are not in that position to be with your children every single day.
Right. Yeah, especially the speech, like when their speeches, the girl speech is like taken off and they're saying so much now. And it's so easy when they call you out. Then I'm like, oh, okay, well, now we're on this phase of our
to your
life.
point, they're going to be 16-year-old girls one day and not wanting to even like say a single thing to you. And you know, this is the time.
Like they're already rolling their eyes at me and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Whoa, the sassiness from day one. I also wanted to like ask you, because you started getting into content creation and like you post on Instagram. Like I'm so curious, like how did you start that and like what got you going in?
Yeah, you know, funny enough, the thing that really hooked I didn't even say hooked, but like I was at an Apple store just trying to get my phone fixed, and on my screen it was like me and the twins. I was holding the girls, and somebody was like, "Oh, those twins are so cute," and I was like, "Oh, thank you." Like they're such, they're such and such or 8 months. I think they were 8 months at that time or whatever. And the lady was like, "Oh, they're yours?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why would I have random children on my phone?" Like it was, and then it was so funny. And so then my husband was like, "You should create a page that says I'm not the nanny, because like I'm pretty sure you're not going to be the only one who faces this conversation, like of just assuming you're not the mom because you don't look like them, because unfortunately
they're biracial, right?
Yeah, my children all have white skin." And so like I'm like, and then needless to say too, my husband gets the same commentary when he's out and about. Like they've made the comment to him like, "Oh, the kids look just like their mom." And he's like, "Yeah, well, my wife isn't white, so that would check."
Right. The math is math thing.
The math is math thing, right.
Such a so her Insta like handle is like I'm not the nanny.
So
and it's just so funny.
And
it's like perfect.
I think like when I finally bit the dust on it, because it was one of those things where there was just so much mom life happening. And I was like, I wanted people to feel seen, because I feel like it's so easy to get into these mom accounts where everything's filtered and you don't get like the full picture of what's actually happening in the day to day. And I wanted people to see an honest lens about it. And I feel like I'm still trying to learn how to, like, I have no strategy when I post, quite honestly. It's like, oh, this is a fun topic to post about and I'll talk about it, right? So it was just a space to have moms feel seen in the day-to-day that goes unseen, right? And so that's kind of the whole intention behind it.
Also, well,
should we get our takeaways then?
I think for me, honestly, I'm just getting a lot of respect, Aaratthi, for you and the role that you're in of like being very present with your children every single day. Because as I get to that stage of life, I think this conversation has like opened up the idea a little bit more of like, is that a potential choice if I do have that I want to do to be able to like cherish time with potential kids in the future.
Yeah, and I really liked the mindset that you have of thinking of like when you're an 80-year-old woman and how proud you are like being in the present. I'm going to use that when I'm in the trenches with the kids, because it's just like, you're like, what am I doing? Like, is this worth it? But I think like having the mindset of just thinking long term and how this time is really going to be like a cherished short temporary period, I think is a really nice way to frame it.
Yeah. I feel like there was a lot that I took away from this conversation, quite honestly. But one is that I think it just like reiterates the fact that stay-at-home mom life doesn't get the credit that it deserves from every angle. And that I think support, one, is super key to like a successful parenting situation. So if you have the support, amazing, right? But also in the stay-at-home mom life, there is a lot of good that comes with that. And people might not know or understand it, but that's a personal journey that you have to be okay with, whether or not people agree with that value or not. But if you value your time with your kids, then anybody else's opinion really doesn't matter. But just hearing your take on how the work, you can do what you do without the support. So I think that's also the key for me, where I feel like sometimes because I haven't been in that, it feels like I have to be able to do it all on my own without the support. But like you can't do what you're doing without the support. And I think that's also super important.
Definitely. And Aaratthi, if people want to connect with you, where should they reach out?
If anyone wants to connect on my Instagram page, you can connect me on my personal or my mom account if anyone is interested in the mom stuff, which is I'm Not the Nanny. And
like, couldn't be more direct. Thank you everyone for listening to this episode of 3 Takes. We'd love to hear from you on thoughts on this episodes and any other ideas for future episodes. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can reach out on our Instagram page at 3.takes, email us at connect@3takes.com, or visit our website at 3takes.com.
Thanks for joining us on 3 Takes. If something we shared sparked a new thought or opened up a conversation with someone you love, we want to hear about it. DM us on Instagram at 3.takes, email us at connect@3takes.com, or visit us at www.3takes.com. And if this episode meant something to you, share it with another mother, daughter, or sister in your life. It's how we grow and keep the stories moving.